Now investors continue to assess their next moves as more earnings release also filter in. And meanwhile, the Nigerian equity market is recording its first weekly gain after losing about 3.5 trillion naira in the month of April. Ekene Oyeka, Securities Trader at Norrenberger, joins me now for more market updates. Ekene, thanks a lot for joining us. Now, we're in the spirit of numbers coming through, just like the conversation here we had with the Chief Financial Officer of FCMB Group. Looking at the numbers, a whole lot is coming through. Despite the odds, good numbers are coming through. What are the big numbers that have caught your attention so far?
So thank you very much, David, for having me on your show. One of the numbers that actually caught my attention specifically is GTCO.
Yes.
We've seen their profit before tax actually increase at 587.
Sixfold.
Sixfold. You can imagine that,
That's
and
major.
you can see how huge it is, given the fact that they are actually, after this news actually came out, after the deadline, considering the capital recapitalization,
Yes.
and all that, and all
Yes,
the banks,
yes.
and we've seen how tremendously they've actually performed. So that alone has actually spurred up investors, investor
whet
sentiment.
appetite.
Yeah, exactly. And we also see their share price actually increase in the markets
Yes.
today, and also it has gained up to 9.58% in the market over the course of trading activities today.
Yes, and then we've also seen a couple of numbers as well now from Zenith and a whole lot more. In terms of the prints for most net income, non-interest income, this is what's driving the numbers here.
Yeah.
But in terms of other players, what's your reading?
Yeah, for other players, we've seen slightly for the FMCGs, right, in terms of how their result has actually performed, given the fact that the loss as of last year has actually trickled down into their Q1
Yes.
results today. We can see how the loss they've actually incurred was 420 billion.
Especially from that back of Naira devaluation, that was a big
So
blow.
the FX is still, so you can imagine when you had FX at 920, that was towards the end of December 2023, and actually for first quarter we saw it at 1,627. This has actually eroded some of their transactions in terms of their operating the environment guiding that particular sector.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah. Now, another big news that came through today is looking at the Transcorp plan for the share capital reduction as well. Now, that's also getting a whole lot of eyeballs. Talk us through the impact here. What's going on, especially with this reduction, and how much of ordinary shares might be cancelled?
So for what we will cancel is 3 to 4, because the ratio that was actually put in place is 1 to 4. That is 1 to 4. That is the ratio as regards the share reduction. So the basic idea behind this is the fact that the management of Transcorp has decided to create this share reduction. Basically is to manage the capital structure of the company. One, also try to also improve their share pricing, and at the same time also look at the outlook regarding the price earning per share. So the whole essence is for them to maximize shareholders, income, and also increase their level of, their capital, their capitalization in the market.
Yeah.
Also. Yeah.
Would you now say that this is a better month for the equities market, juxtaposing that as to what we saw in April, because recording a loss of about 3.54 trillion naira versus this first weekly gain, this is signaling some upliftment in the mood. Would you say we're going to see this rebound much more sustained for you?
Yeah, we will see those because over the course of this quarter, where we've seen how deep the market has actually gone in terms of the performance and the returns in the market. But this result that actually hit the market has actually created a certain level of sentiment. And we get to even see, given the fact that we have to also tie it down to the CBN meeting that will be coming up very soon, right? The policies also has to play a very huge role in terms of trying to see how they can actually sustain that rate, and also try to see how they can actually match up with the inflation numbers. So these factors are the driving force as regards the outlook as where the market is going to be.
Because one of the latest fillers we're also getting from Fitch, aside the revision of Nigeria's credit outlook to positive, it's also saying that, well, this monetary policy tightening should continue, and that's the body language so many also expect. But in terms of sectoral sensitivity, we always come back to this: the banking sector, oil and gas, manufacturing. In terms of sectoral sensitivity, let's unpack the categorization and how these different segments might be hit by the next move the CBN will be taking.
So majorly, we're going to look at one is the banking index, right? We've seen how that actually recovered. You know, if you look at the month to date, what it's actually done in the market, almost 9.42%.
And it lost about 26% since the recapitalization exercise.
So we can see that all these, using the fact that the banks are actually very liquid in the market and always try to see how they can be able to streamline whatever decision is going to make by the Central Bank of Nigeria. But definitely, in terms of the sectorial, you know, performances, we get to see more of the banking sector. Given the fact that this result has actually put out in the market, we get to see that little bit of sustenance happening for the next, by the end of second quarter, turn to the third quarter.
But the Naira is gradually, for those who are not necessarily optimists, they will say the Naira has lost some ground it gained earlier. Yep. Trading now at about 1,400. For you, what's your outlook in terms of the fate of the local currency as we are looking further into that half-year mark on the back of the economic moderation that the CBN governor earlier highlighted? Yeah. Whether or not this is still a bleak picture remains to be told by the tales of time. For you, how do you see the Naira going forward?
Well, we've seen so far the performance of the currency over the course of this first quarter of this year. We can see how it actually has affected the operating environment of the country. So I believe that what it has actually had, the impact it has on the market right now, we've seen some certain level of, you know, people moving from the capital market to the fixed income market, right, because of the rates at which investors' returns are actually being sustained. So what we see that if they can be able to, you know, to manage those policies that actually led to the appreciation of the Naira, you know, over the course of March this year, we can actually see more activities in the capital markets.
Well, we'll have to leave the conversation here for now. Definitely, I would have loved to have had your take on the stocks on your radar and where investors should be putting their money's worth. But we'll leave the conversation here for now. Thanks a lot for your time on the show today, Ekene. That was Ekene Oyeka, Securities Trader at Norrenberger.